Hey there, are you sitting down? Good, because Wayfair's end-of-season sale is here, and you can shop it from your couch. It's Wayfair's Labor Day clearance, and it's on now. Right now, you can score up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair, like up to 50% off outdoor furniture and decor, and up to 70% off area rugs, plus amazing doorbuster deals, and 24-hour surprise flash deals on Wayfair home finds in every style. And get it all with fast shipping on everything, right to your door. From furniture to faucets, this is your last chance of the season to score huge deals at Wayfair. Don't let the final days of summer pass you by without shopping these end-of-season savings. So don't wait. Like summer, these savings won't last. Head to wayfair.com today to score up to 70% off everything home. Celebrate your holiday weekend with can't-miss savings before they run out. Shop Wayfair's Labor Day clearance now through September 2nd at wayfair.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Before we dive into the Ethereals history, I want to talk about each of their factions quickly, since there are a handful of them, and I thought it might be good to just go over each. First, we start with the Athereum. The Athereum were once the ruling class of Caresh. When the Void Lord Dimensius devoured Caresh, the Athereum swore absolute vengeance. That single-minded oath drove them into a life of arcane experiments and fanaticism, twisting them into ruthless overlords who believe only in power. Many Nexus princes broke away from this tyranny to form factions like the Consortium and the Protectorate, but the core of the Athereum remains bent on controlling the cosmos, even experimenting with mana forges to transform themselves into pure void energy. Next up is the Consortium. In stark contrast to their vengeful cousins, the Consortium are shrewd opportunists, a loosely aligned cartel of smugglers, merchants, and relic hunters led by Nexus Prince Haramad. Driven by profit rather than conquest, they scour Outland and other realms for rare artifacts and information, trading with anyone for the right price. They have bazaars located in various locations, which are hubs of commerce where secrets and treasures change hands. One of which you can visit is the Storm Spire in Netherstorm. Though not entirely trustworthy, the Consortium often align with the Protectorate when the Ethereum's plans threaten their bottom line. The Protectorate formed as a direct response to the Ethereum's descent into madness. These Ethereals believe that vengeance against Dimensius is important, but not at the cost of their people's soul. Led by Commander Amir and Nexus Prince Haramad, the Protectorate operates from their watchpost in Netherstorm, intervening wherever the Ethereum schemes endanger other worlds. To them, the Ethereum have become as dangerous as Dimensius himself, and must be stopped or redeemed. The Bashir are an elite offshoot of the Ethereum who oversee prisons and stasis chambers in the harsh cliffs of Blade's Edge Mountains. Loyal to the Ethereum, they capture and experiment on creatures in their citadel, using arcane prisons to fuel the faction's dark research. Bashir commanders act as enforcers for the Ethereum's will, rooting out dissidents and extracting secrets from captives. Yet some within their ranks question the ethics of these practices. Finally, we had the Shadow Guard. Drawing their power from the Whispers in the Void, the Shadow Guard represent the most dangerous evolution of ethereal fanaticism. These Ethereals heeded the call of void energies, willingly transforming into void Ethereals, and pledging fealty to shadowy masters. They traveled to Argus and established a base called the Shadow Guard Incursion, from which they stormed the seat of the Triumvirate and attempted to summon the Void. Their assault was thwarted, but the Shadow Guard remain a chilling example of what happens when ethereal curiosity gives way to cosmic oblivion. Now I'm going to go over the brokers at the end, as they are not officially listed as a faction of the Ethereals, and I thought it'd be interesting to just go over them specifically. Now with those out of the way, let's hop into the Ethereals history with Dimensius. Long before the rise of the mortal kingdoms, when the old gods ruled Azeroth under the banner of the Black Empire, a terrifying force stirred within the endless dark, Dimensius, the All-Devouring. It was during this time that Dimensius gifted one of his most powerful relics, the staff known as Void Song, to none other than Xal'atath, the Harbinger of the Void. A weapon as ancient as the stars themselves, its very existence whispered of horrors far beyond mortal understanding. How Dimensius first found the distant world of Caresh remains a matter of bitter debate among the few Ethereals who survived his coming. Some say he was drawn by the world's potent ley lines. Others believe he was led there by whispers of the void itself. But whatever path brought him, the devastation he unleashed was undeniable. Caresh was once a harsh, arid world, its skies painted in muted hues under the distant glow of its twin suns. Beneath its barren beauty, however, flourished a rich ecosystem and several intelligent species. Chief among them was a race of highly advanced mortals led by the visionary Nexus King Saladar, a people who would in time be known as the Ethereals. Over 1,000 years ago, Dimensius descended upon Caresh with terrifying force. Countless rifts tore open across the planet, gateways spilling forth the raw energies of the void and the twisting nether. Arcane storms raged across the world, washing over cities and landscapes alike. In desperation, Caresh's greatest minds turned to their sophisticated technology and ancient magics, constructing massive protective barriers around their cities. The wards held back the worst of the dark corruption, but they were not enough. While the barriers blocked the direct influence of the void, they could not stop the wild torrents of arcane power pouring through the breaches. The very fabric of their mortal existence unraveled. Bodies dissolved into nothingness, but their souls remained, saturated with pure arcane energy, existing precariously on the edge of dissolution. To preserve themselves, the survivors devised a desperate solution, binding their fragile essence within enchanted wrappings of cloth, giving form to what was once formless. Thus were born the Ethereals, creatures of pure energy and will. Ironically, this new state granted them immense power. With sharpened intellect and mastery over arcane forces, the Ethereals managed to hold Dimensius at bay for a time, driving his initial forces into a stalemate. In time, Dimensius the All-Devouring swelled with such immense power that he no longer ravaged alone. Rending open the fabric of reality, he called forth legions of ravenous void spawn to join his apocalyptic campaign across Caresh. Against this tide of darkness, the native Careshi had no choice but to abandon their shattered world. Tearing through dimensions in desperation, they escaped into the chaotic expanse of the twisting nether, and the forgotten corners of the Shadowlands. There, their broken forms evolved into something new, drifting specters bound in arcane wrappings, known across realms as the Ethereals and Brokers. Yet the tragedy of Caresh was only the beginning of their story. In the aftermath, the surviving Ethereals fractured. The Athereum, once the ruling council of Nexus princes, grew increasingly consumed by vengeance. Their singular obsession with destroying Dimensius twisted them into ruthless aggressors, willing to annihilate anything standing in their path. Many Nexus princes, disillusioned by this growing fanaticism, broke away to form their own factions, each pursuing their own interests across the cosmos. Among these factions rose the Protectorate, founded by a former Nexus prince who saw the Ethereum's descent into darkness and vowed to stop them. Joining their efforts was the Consortium, a loose confederation of smugglers, traders, and information brokers. Unlike the Ethereum's thirst for destruction, the Consortium thrives on opportunity, navigating the Great Dark Beyond and the Twisting Nether to build vast networks of influence across sectors such as Harasamid, Harazi, Sodorami, and the Zardi sector. From a single world's fall, the Ethereals have become one of the most mysterious and far-reaching forces in existence. Divided, yet ever-evolving. Scattered, yet impossible to ignore. In the chaotic early days of the Outland campaign, the Death Knight Ragnarok Bloodreaver sought to tip the scales of war in his favor. To strengthen his forces, he turned his ambitions toward the Nether Dragons, strange and volatile creatures born from the unstable energies of Outland's shattered skies. But taming such beings would require more than brute force. To accomplish this, Ragnarok enlisted the aid of an Ethereal named Catavan, an expert in manipulating arcane technology for profit. Under Ragnarok's commission, Catavan constructed a sinister device. Enchanted collars capable of subjugating the Nether Dragons by siphoning their vast energy, bending them to Ragnarok's will. The plan might have succeeded had fate not intervened. During the Death Knight's bold assault on the Dark Portal, his operations drew the attention of the Blue Dragon Tiragosa. Recognizing the threat, Tiragosa confronted the ethereal inventor and swiftly captured him. Catavan, pragmatic as ever, offered his full cooperation in exchange for his life, willing to betray his employer without hesitation if it meant survival. Yet the damage was already done. The collar device, unstable and surging with unchecked energy, backfired. Instead of control, it began to drain the very lifeblood of the Nether Dragons it was meant to subjugate. Without immediate access to a sustainable source of power, the dragons would perish as their essence was devoured. Thinking quickly, Tiragosa tore open a portal to the Nexus in Caldera, seeking a haven of arcane energy that might preserve the dragons long enough to remove their bindings. Catavan, still clutched tightly in her talons, had no choice but to follow. Now marooned on Azeroth, stripped of purpose and patron, Catavan found himself in a world ripe with opportunity and risk. Ever the entrepreneur, he vanished into the arcane undercurrents of the land, seeking new customers, new schemes, and perhaps a second chance at profit in the chaos of a world at war. When Outland was tore open by the dark forces of the Burning Legion, many rushed to claim its shattered remains. But among the demons, orcs, elves, and heroes, another force drifted into this broken world, one of shadows, energy, and insatiable ambition. The Ethereals had arrived. Drawn by the promise of lost knowledge and unguarded treasures, the Ethereals slipped into Outland's ruins like wraiths. The burning war between Horde Alliance and Legion meant little to them. They were merchants, smugglers, manipulators, and above all else, opportunists. If playing both sides of the conflict advanced their goals, so be it. Some delved into the haunted tower of Karazhan, seeking the forbidden secrets left behind by Medivh. Others infiltrated Shatrath City, weaving their silent networks of trade and espionage beneath the vigilant gaze of the Shatar. But not all Ethereals operated with mere greed. Some pursued darker designs. The faction known as the Athereum had their eyes set not on wealth, but on something far more dangerous: the void itself. Obsessed with transcending their physical forms, the Athereum conducted horrifying experiments deep within Manaforge Ultras in the Netherstorm, twisting shadow energies to create Nexus Stalkers, living weapons of fused energy and void essence. To the Protectorate, a rival order of Ethereals sworn to resist the Void's corruption, the Athereum had become as great a threat as even Dimensius the All-Devouring himself. Their operations sprawled across Outland. In the jagged heights of Blade's Edge Mountains, Nexus Prince Razan and his Razani hunted souls, stealing the life essence of the Muknathal clan of orcs and gnomes within the mountains. The Bashir imprisoned creatures in stasis chambers while smuggling stolen mana cells from Tempest Keep, funneling them into Kael'thas Sunstrider's schemes at the Sunwell. Yet while the Aetherium courted the Void, others among the Ethereals pursued more tangible rewards. The Consortium, led by the shrewd Nexus Prince Haramad, played a delicate game. When Haramad dispatched adventurers to recover the Spirit Song, one of the 7 lost shards of the Autumnal Crystal, it triggered a confrontation with Kael'thas' agents. The adventurers refused to surrender the artifact to the Nothrazim and Blood Elves. Haramad made a decisive choice, killing Kael'thas' emissaries and siding with the Shatar, delivering the crystal into the hands of the Naru Adal. The Consortium's neutrality was broken. But not all within the Consortium stayed loyal. The Zaxxas, once a faction under Haramad's rule, broke away to form their own rogue empire. In response, Haramad sent Netherstalker KG to strike down their leadership. Though KG believed he had succeeded, Zaxxas' agents survived, forcing adventurers to track down their remaining operatives and eliminate Warp Raider Nassad, who had evaded KG's initial attempt on his life. In Auchindoun, the lure of wealth once again proved fatal. Nexus Prince Shafar, obsessed with rumored treasures hidden within the Mana Tombs, poured his fortune into an expedition meant to drive out rival Ethereals. But adventurers acting on orders from the Consortium dismantled his forces and slew Shafar himself, ending his reckless ambition. In Nagrand, the reach of the Ethereals extended even to the sacred mountain of Ashengun. The Varani, led by the ruthless criminal Gavaxi, sought to plunder large fragments of the ancient crystal, stripping away pieces of its immense power. But heroes once again intervened, defeating the Varani before they could desecrate the relic further. In time, the Ethereum's dangerous experiments could no longer be ignored. The Protectorate, allied with heroes of the Horde and Alliance, launched a full-scale assault on the Ethereum strongholds. One by one, their operations collapsed. Their leader, Nexus King Saladar, fell, struck down by the combined might of mortals and Ethereals alike. Even Dimensius the All-Devouring was finally supposedly defeated in the blasted ruins of Manaforge Ultras. But the Ethereum's hunger for power was not entirely extinguished. In the halls of the Magister's Terrace, a remnant of the Athereum resurfaced, now allied with Kael'thas and the Burning Legion. Among them was Yazai, a loyal acolyte of Priestess Delrissa, proving once again that for some Ethereals, there would always be another master willing to pay the price for their services. Within Outland, in the Shadow region of Netherstorm, amid the broken remains of Manaforge Ultras, Dimensius appeared once more. But this time it was only a fragment of his true self, a shadow, a faint echo, barely a sliver of his full presence in the physical universe. Even so, this fragment possessed terrifying power, yet it would not go unchallenged. The Ethereals of the Protectorate, joined by the daring adventurers, confronted this echo Dimensius amid the chaotic ruins. In a climactic battle, they brought down the all-devouring one, or at least the fraction of him that had slipped into this reality. His true essence still lingered beyond the veil, waiting, watching, hungering. The battle was won, but the war against the Void is far from over. Years passed, but the Ethereum's thirst for power only deepened. Though Dimensius had been banished, the Void's allure remained. During the chaotic events of the Nexus War, the Ethereum resurfaced, seeking new alliances to further their twisted ambitions. Far to the north, in the frozen wastes of Dragonblight, an unusual meeting was underway. Beneath the shattered towers of Moonrest Gardens, an Ethereal ambassador named Windtrader Mufas stood impatiently, awaiting an audience with Goromash, a blue dragon spawn acting on behalf of Malygos, the Spellweaver himself. The negotiations had dragged on longer than Mufas had anticipated, so long in fact that he openly threatened to abandon the talks altogether. The Ethereum's motives were clear. Malygos had declared war against the mortal races of Azeroth, believing that only his flight should wield the chaotic power of magic. The Ethereum, ever opportunistic, saw in him a kindred spirit, a being whose obsession with controlling arcane energy mirrored their own desire to manipulate the Void. A pact between the two could have proven catastrophic. But not all were willing to let this dangerous alliance take root. The Kirin Tor, guardians of magic and defenders of Dalaran, moved swiftly. Archmage Modera issued a covert order. Both representatives were to be eliminated before any agreement could be reached. Heroes loyal to the Kirin Tor carried out the assassination, striking down both Mufas and Goromash, ending the negotiations before they could bear fruit. Yet even this failure did not end the Ethereum's obsession. Though they were denied Malygos' support, the Ethereum would once again attempt to merge with the Void in the years that followed, continuing their reckless experiments in secret corners of the cosmos. And amidst the chaos of the Nexus War, one more ethereal figure emerged from the shadows. During Malygos' assault on Dalaran, the magical prison known as the Violet Hold was thrown into disarray. Amidst the prison break, an arcane weapons dealer named Zavaz was freed from his cell. A former servant of the Burning Legion, Zavaz sought to escape Dalaran and return to his Dark Masters, but the heroes of Azeroth intercepted him before he could slip away, bringing his twisted schemes to a violent end. Even after their failed negotiations during the Nexus War, the Ethereum's schemes had only grown more desperate and more dangerous. In secret, a bargain had been struck. For their assistance during the Nexus War, Malygos had offered the Ethereum unprecedented access to the vast vaults of arcane treasure hidden within the Nexus itself. It was a bargain born of mutual obsession, both parties driven by a desire to control the raw forces of magic. But for the Ethereum, wealth was not their true prize. Their vision was far darker. They sought to transcend even their energy-bound forms to become pure void, an unstoppable force of shadow. On the frozen isle of Koldara, the Ethereum installed massive constructs known as Surge Needles, designed to pierce into the fabric of the twisting nether itself. Through these devices, they drew torrents of void energy into the Nexus, feeding their experiments, bending reality to serve their ever-growing hunger for transformation. Their leader, Nexus Prince Balal, stood at the center of this terrible ritual. Consumed by the very forces he sought to control, Balal was transformed into a nightmarish void revenant, a being of swirling shadow and destructive power. But his reign was short-lived. A group of daring arcane mages and disciplined priests in search of legendary artifacts such as Alunith and Light's Wrath descended upon the Nexus. In a climactic battle, Balal was defeated, his ambitions shattered. In the wake of these events, the ancient blue dragon Azurgos took it upon himself to remain within the Nexus, vowing to guard its vaults and ensure that its power would never again fall into the wrong hands. Yet even as the Ethereum's ambitions crumbled on Azeroth, others of their kind were drawn to far more distant and terrifying places. When the heroes of Azeroth ventured to Argus during the Legion's third invasion, they encountered a new faction of Ethereals, those who had fully succumbed to the seductive whispers of the Void. Known as the Shadow Guard, these Ethereals had long abandoned any pretense of neutrality. Led by Viceroy Nassar, They sought to harness the overwhelming shadow energies radiating from the corrupted Naru Lura deep within Eridath. The Shadow Guard's rituals threatened to engulf Argus itself in darkness, calling the void across the stars to claim yet another world. But their efforts were stopped before catastrophe could strike, thanks to the intervention of Azeroth's champions. Among those who watched these events unfold was Locust Walker, a rare ethereal who walked a delicate path between shadow and sanity. He had hoped to find others among the Shadow Guard who, like him, could resist the full corruption of the void, but he was only met with disappointment. Seeing in them not strength of will, but minds utterly broken by the all-consuming hunger of shadow, the Ethereum's descent into madness was now complete. As Azeroth teetered on the edge of the Fourth War, the Ethereals continued to weave themselves into the world's unfolding conflicts, some openly, others from the shadows. In the distant reaches of Telegraph's Rift, Magister Umbric and his followers delved into forbidden void magics, exiled from Silvermoon for daring to explore the dangerous energies that most would shun. But they were not alone. The Nether Guard, a faction of Ethereals led by Nether Prince Durzan, descended upon them with a sinister purpose: to forcibly transform the Blood Elves into Ethereals, stripping them of their physical forms and binding them into beings of pure energy. But the ritual was interrupted. Alleria Windrunner, herself infused with the power of the Void, intervened just in time. The process, though incomplete, left Umbric and his followers forever changed. Caught between the physical and the incorporeal, they became something entirely new: Void Elves. Beings who could channel the void without succumbing fully to its madness. In the aftermath, two Ethereals, Locust Walker and Shadreen, joined the Void Elves on Telegraph's Rift. What emerged was a rare and delicate alliance between mortals and Ethereals, both navigating the dangerous balance between power and corruption. The Void Elves found in the Ethereals allies who could understand their struggles, while the Ethereals gained new partners willing to walk the knife's edge of shadow with them. Yet not all Ethereals remained in the distant rifts. Amidst the chaos of the Fourth War, the more pragmatic members of the Consortium found steady work within the great capitals of Azeroth. Hired by both the Horde and the Alliance, Consortium Arcanists established and maintained stable portals connecting Shatroth City to Orgrimmar's Pathfinder's Den and Stormwind's Wizard's Sanctum, ensuring that trade and profit flowed smoothly even as war raged across the world. The Consortium's curiosity extended beyond simple commerce. Within the clandestine arena of the Brawlers Guild, Shadreen dispatched an agent named Zan Salish to observe the champions who fought for glory there. Every battle was meticulously recorded, their techniques, their weapons, their armor. Valuable data for the ever-observant Ethereals, who viewed every contest as another opportunity to learn, adapt, and profit. But even darker interests were beginning to take hold. When the heroes of Azeroth braved the haunting visions of Orgrimmar and visions of Stormwind, twisted echoes of reality shaped by the whispers of N'Zoth, their efforts attracted the attention of yet another Ethereal, Zarhal. Always drawn to forbidden sources of power, Zarhal sought to harvest fragments of N'Zoth's maddening influence, offering strange crystalline rewards to those willing to trade with him. For the Ethereals, even the mind of an old god represented a resource, another untapped current of energy to be mined, studied, and perhaps one day, mastered. Even after the fall of N'Zoth and the defeat of the Primalists, the whispering tendrils of the void found new ways to reach into Azeroth. From the blackened depths of Argus, the Shadow Guard resurfaced. Those Ethereals who had long ago surrendered themselves fully to the void. But this time, they were not alone. At their head stood Xalatath, the harbinger of the void, guiding her faithful like a dark prophet returning to claim what she had long sought. Their assault was swift and targeted. The gates of Ulduar, ancient bastion of the Titans, came under siege as the Shadow Guard sought to unravel the defenses, protecting the world from the deeper horrors sealed beneath. A second strike fell upon Telegraph's Rift, homeland of the Void Elves, where the echoes of past transformations still lingered. But they would not go unopposed. Alleria Windrunner, ever watchful, rallied the Void Elves and stood against the invading Shadow Guard. Joined by Azeroth's champions, they battled fiercely to repel the ethereal onslaught. Among those who came to their aid was Locust Walker, the mysterious ethereal who had long danced the narrow line between shadow and sanity. Fighting beside Alleria, Locust Walker recognized something chillingly familiar. As he watched the forces of the void gnaw at Telegraph's Rift, memories of his lost homeworld returned. He spoke to Alleria of Caresh, of how Dimensius had torn open rifts into the void and the twisting nether, drowning his people's world in swirling destruction. What was unfolding on Azeroth now echoed the same doom. The Shadow Guard's attack were not merely isolated strikes, they were steps in a pattern the Ethereals had seen before, one that had already consumed entire worlds. Though the invaders were pushed back, and Xal'atath's advance was temporarily halted, the warning was clear. The Void's hunger had not been sated. Its agents would return, and the shadow that devoured Caresh now cast its gaze firmly upon Azeroth. Even after the rise of Xal'atath and the devastation she brought upon Dalaran, the Ethereals continued to pursue their own secretive and often conflicting agendas. In the chaos that followed the city's destruction, one such Ethereal, Zovex, managed to escape from his imprisonment within the shattered Violet Hold, fleeing in the distant Isle of Dorn. But Zovex was far from the only Ethereal entangled in these unfolding events. In the dark tunnels of Azj-Kahet, Nexus Princess Kai'Viza had skillfully positioned herself as a trusted confidant of Queen Ansarek, the rising leader of the Nerubians and an ally of Xal'atath herself. Under this facade of loyalty, Kai'Viza manipulated events from behind the scenes, directing abductor Arzda to lead Ansarek's gruesome efforts to abduct and forcibly ascend the Nerubians of the Burrows, transforming them into twisted servants of the Void. Yet Kai'Viza's true loyalties lay elsewhere. Unknown even to her supposed allies, she was operating under the orders of a master whose identity remains concealed, planning to betray Queen Ansarek and seize greater power for herself. But her ambitions were cut short. The mortal champions of the Severed Threads, alongside their allies, confronted Kai'Viza before her betrayal could unfold. Defeated, she was forced to retreat into the shadows, her schemes temporarily unraveled. In the volatile underworld of Undermine, a secretive group of Ethereals led by the elusive phase thief Azir stalked the streets in search of a singular prize, the Dark Heart. Their movements were precise, their presence barely noticed by the city's goblin denizens. Their search culminated in a daring assault on the Steamweedle laboratories, where they were confronted by Ilaria Windrunner and her companions. The Ethereals were pushed back, but not before Azir managed to overhear a critical revelation: the true location of the Dark Heart, hidden deep within the city and guarded by none other than Jaster Gallywix himself. Seizing the opportunity, Azir eventually outmaneuvered Gallywix, securing the Dark Heart for himself before slipping away from Undermine entirely. Though Ilaria and Gallywix both suspected that Azir was merely another agent of Xal'atath, the truth was far more unsettling. The Ethereals were not acting as her pawns. They had their own designs for the artifact, ambitions that may yet stretch far beyond even Xal'atath's own sinister plans. In the end, Phase Thief Azir was last seen standing amidst the broken remains of Caresh, the desolate world that once birthed his people. With the Dark Heart in his possession, he gazed out over the ruins, the silent, pulsing artifact cradled in his hands, as yet another chapter of the Ethereal's mysterious journey unfolded.
After so long, Master, it is time. The Harbinger's failure has opened the way. The vast power she placed within this dark heart will give you new life. So come, Lord Dimensius, come feast upon this universe. Let your darkness reign forevermore.
We've all heard it, old friend. The voice of our greatest fear.
Dimensius is rising, Venari. And should he assume his full power,
He will devour all that exists.
just as he did to our beloved homeworld, Caresh.
Long before their sleek robes shimmered across the citadel of the Shadowlands, the brokers were Careshi, children of the doomed world of Caresh. When the Void Lord Dimensius descended upon their home, reality itself began to splinter. It is now revealed that Xal'atath played a pivotal role in their fate, weaving dark rituals with the mysterious Rishi ribbons to reshape the Caresh into something entirely new. No longer beings of flesh, they were transmuted into pure energy. Some of these transformed souls remained in the physical universe, becoming the Ethereals. Others ventured into the afterlife realms, adapting to the strange forces of the Shadowlands. To survive its foreign pressures, they adopted containment suits far stronger than those of their ethereal kin, and there they became the brokers, moving deftly through the in-between, a hidden realm that threads the very fabric of reality. From the moment their great barge cities first drifted into the in-between, the brokers were guided by one all-consuming purpose: to uncover the ancient truths of the first ones, basically the beings that shaped the universe. The wiki describes them as enigmatic, godlike beings who shaped the cosmos and the fabric of all realities. They conceived and put in place 6 governing forces of reality: light, void, order, disorder, life, and death, as well as the pantheons that embody them, such as the Pantheon of Order and the Pantheon of Death, and the realms that they inhabit. Whispers of forgotten vaults and primal designs lured them across the cosmos. They followed legend and rumor to hidden sanctums: Oribos, Baraneth, Nira Mahan, and Korthia, worlds and constructs believed to bear the touch of the first ones. Some secrets were uncovered, others remained buried in mystery just beyond reach. A chance decision by a navigator of Cartel Owl that brought the brokers to Oribos at last. There, they were granted the rare privilege of anchoring themselves within the very city of the Arbiter. From this foothold, their influence began to grow. When the elusive sepulchre of the first ones entered the brokers' collective obsession, the cartels vied for dominance. Cartel L triumphed over Cartel Ta in the bid to lead the expedition. Their reward was a relic, an ancient inscription perhaps crafted by the first ones themselves. Al-Farim, a renowned linguist and codebreaker, took to the task with fervor. Despite his arrogance and flamboyant self-praise, the glyphs tested even his limits. And yet his determination yielded what others had not achieved in lifetimes: the beginnings of a translation. But the deeper the brokers delved, the more strange and erratic the reports became. Communication faltered, dispatches turned cryptic. Al-Farim wandered the Shadowlands in search of aid: scholars, explorers, anyone who might help him unlock the vaults of divine design. Yet few shared his obsession. He pressed on, chasing the forgotten tongue of the universe through the veils of death itself. Eventually, however, the fractals aligned. Al-Farim and his expedition broke through the final veil and reached Zerith Mortis, the mythic realm of the first ones. What they found was no ruined archive or dusty monument. Zerith Mortis lived, thrummed with purpose and guardianship. Some members of the expedition, tempted by greed, attempted to plunder its secrets, and paid with their lives, cut down by the vigilant constructs that served the realm's architects. The survivors, sobered and awed, heeded Al-Farim's counsel. They established a settlement on the edge of this forbidden paradise, a place they called Haven. There, the pursuit of knowledge became reverence. Portals were sealed, translocation equations erased. Their exile was voluntary, their purpose now sacred. Casting aside their cartel designations, they became the Enlightened, and Al-Farim, shedding both ego and title, became simply Farim. But even with sanctity, division took root. Farim's hunger to uncover the sepulchre of the first ones remained undiminished. While others believed such ambition desecrated the sacred, the conflict escalated from quiet obstruction to open sabotage. In time, the Enlightened branded him a heretic and cast him from Haven. Undaunted, Farim withdrew to a desolate corner of Zerith Mortis, known as Exile's Hollow, where he vowed to finish what he began, alone if he must. Elsewhere, the brokers of Cartel Ve pursued a darker ambition. They turned their eyes not to divine architecture but to the Maw, an untouched trove of forbidden knowledge and hidden opportunity. Backed by shadowy coin and colder resolve, their venture found success where others would have faltered. Yet triumph came at a price. Once they secured a foothold, all communication ceased. Whispers suggest that Venari, the agent in charge, orchestrated the elimination of her fellow cartel operatives to claim sole dominion over the spoils. She denies this, of course, but no others remain to speak their truth. In the wake of various catastrophes, the Arbiter being silenced, the anima drought spreading like rot, and the arrival of living mortals from Azeroth, the brokers saw not despair but opportunity. These so-called Maw Walkers were unprecedented, agents of change who could move freely between realms. Sensing profit in the chaos, the brokers swiftly established themselves as indispensable intermediaries. They brought with them rare items, arcane insights, and the luxuries of civilization to the bewildered mortals who now found themselves wandering the eternal city of Ouroboros. Cartel Owl was the first to plant its banner in the Hall of Shapes, offering all manner of crafting services. Whether forging legendary armaments or enchanting gear with special precision, Owl ensured the tools of creation remained in deft hands. Meanwhile, Cartel Ta found its niche in the Hall of Curiosities, specializing in rarities and aesthetic refinements. There, mortals could reshape their forms, alter their attire, and even tap into long-lost storage, a service known only as void storage. Ta also operated the Idyllia's Inn, offering rest to the wary, and partnered with Cartel Ba to broaden their reach. Cartel Zo, more cryptic than their cousins, established itself in the Enclave. They were less interested in trade and more concerned with observation. The combat prowess of the Mawwalkers fascinated them. Through arena clashes, battlefield maneuvers, and skirmishes across the realms, Zo's agents recorded and reported their findings to an enigmatic figure they only called the Observer. Beyond Ouroboros, the brokers embedded themselves deeply into each realm. In Bastion, Cartel Ta managed Transfer Station Ta, a bustling nexus where captured beasts and harvested curios from the realm of purity were prepared for export across the Shadowlands. In Maldraxxus, where strength and spectacle ruled, the infamous Au Norim of Cartel Au presided over the Challenger's Promenade. Her enterprise fed creatures into the theater of pain, ran lucrative betting rings, and hawked enhancers of dubious origin. Brokers from Cartel So and Cartel Zo could be seen aiding her operations, ensuring her dominion over the blood-soaked arena remained unchallenged. Elsewhere in Maldraxxus, Ta Aran, aligned with Cartel Ta, scoured ancient texts with the help of Mawwalkers, recovering the knowledge of the Primus and the Margraves from the Sepulchre of Knowledge. Even the twisted plane of the Other Side, which is Blansandi's pocket dimension, wasn't beyond their reach. There, Mawwalkers confronted dealer Zayexa, a broker whose business dealings with the Loa of Death Bwansandi had gone too far. Zayexa had stolen some of the Loa's mojo, intending to leverage it for power or profit. In the dark nobility of Revendreth, Cartel Ta had been granted favor by none other than the fierce stalker herself. With her blessing, they established the infamous night market, where exotic flora and other curious items were collected for shipment. Their influence even extended into the Amber Court, where they adorned the festivities with decadent decorations. Yet not all dealings were above board. Deep within Castle Nathria, Artificer Zymox, the cunning leader of Cartel Zai, had infiltrated Sire Denathrius' court. His true goal was to plunder the vaults of the castle and abscond with its most powerful artifacts, relics that could reshape reality itself. In the Maw, at the very heart of torment, one broker dared to thrive where even the bravest feared to tread. Venari of Cartel Ve emerged as a rare and invaluable ally to the Mawwalkers, navigating the Jailer's realm with a tenacity and cunning that bordered on legendary. She dealt in secrets, sold survival, and offered rare tools capable of turning despair into advantage. Her assistance proved vital to those who sought to infiltrate the darkness and dismantle its horrors from within. Cartel Ve's presence extended even into the cursed halls of Torghast, the Tower of the Damned. There, shadow-cloaked dealers offered strange relics and fleeting boons to those bold enough to challenge the tower's ever-shifting halls. Among them was Vanish, a broker whose invention, a mysterious box, granted its bearer the power to traverse Torghast with near impunity. Such tools came at a price, of course, for power always does. As the United Covenants mounted their assault upon the Maw and the expedition into Korthia deepened, the brokers once again played their hand. Aldalil of Cartel Owl sought out the aid of the Mawwalkers, recruiting them to travel to the mysterious and cloaked city of Tesavesh, the Veiled Market. There, Solia, the ambitious and dangerous leader of Cartel So, had uncovered fragments of a relic tied to the first ones. Her plan was to harness its power for herself. Aldalil knew that if she succeeded, the consequences would ripple across existence. The Mawwalkers were dispatched to stop her before the relic could be assembled. In the ruins of Korthia, Cartel Ta embedded a lattice of hidden observation devices across the realm, quietly harvesting information beneath the notice of most. Ta Nasi, a meticulous broker, tasked the Mawwalkers with retrieving the accumulated data, ever eager to add to the cartel's deep well of intelligence. Meanwhile, Xylanu took up residence at Keeper's Respite, directing agents to recover caches filled with items gathered by her contacts across the war-torn region. She also issued bounties for powerful Mossworn, threats to the cartel's operations that needed to be removed with swift efficiency. Yet not all broker dealings remained in the light. In a transaction steeped in dark intentions, Cartel Boss struck a deal with Kel'Thuzad and the Necromantic House of Rituals. The object exchanged was no ordinary artifact. It was a domination dagger, pulled from the Maw itself, and now in the hands of one of the most dangerous entities in the Shadowlands. In the luminous expanse of Zerith Mortis, the final chapter of the Shadowlands saga unfolded. As the Jailer's dark ambitions reached their zenith, the Mawwalkers and the Covenant forces pressed forward into the mysterious cradle of creation. There, they encountered the Enlightened, a group of former brokers who had forsaken profit and power to become stewards of knowledge. An alliance was born, not of coin but of purpose, as both factions united to stop the Jailer from reaching the sepulchre of the First Ones and rewriting the fabric of reality itself. Among the fractured geometries and radiant logic of Zerith Mortis, the Mawwalkers met Farim, a rogue scholar of the Enlightened. With his guidance, they began to unravel the secrets left behind by the progenitors of existence, glyphs, mechanisms, and theories far beyond the comprehension of even the most ancient minds. Together, they eliminated truths long buried beneath the cosmic lattice. But where destiny stirs, the brokers are never far behind. Cartel Zai, ever hungry for forbidden power, was among the first to slither through the newly opened passage into Zerith Mortis. Their agents moved into shadow, seeking to sabotage the Enlightened's efforts and plunder what they could before the Covenants could secure the realm. But their schemes were uncovered. Aldalil, Rana, and a Mawwalker confronted them in Haven, thwarting their attempts at destabilization. Still, the damage was not entirely undone. A breach of the Slumbering Vault followed, one of Zerith Mortis' most ancient repositories. Though most of the infiltrators were stopped, it was whispered by Zykaz that Artificer Zymox, the cartel's enigmatic leader, had found precisely what he came for. What he took, none could say, but it was clear the cartel's hunger had not been sated. Their efforts turned from subtle sabotage to outright violence. Zai assassins were sent to eliminate Farim, the linchpin of the Mawwalkers' understanding of the realm. The attempt failed, but it marked a turning point. The final confrontation came deep within the sepulchre of the First Ones, where Cartel Zai dared to lay claim to relics of impossible power. Knowledge meant to reshape existence itself was under threat, not only by the Jailer, but now by the profiteers who served no cause but their own. And once more it fell to the Mawwalkers to stand in the path of annihilation, not just from the darkness that sought to consume creation, but from the greed that would sell it to the highest bidder. That's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks for checking it out. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with AutoQuote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.